Hello, folks. This story was sent to me by a subscriber and is intended for educational purposes only. I do not glorify substances of any kind. Like, subscribe, and let me know your experiences in the comments. Thank you for watching. 850 mg mescaline. The vacuum cleaner knew too much. It was a Wednesday, which is statistically the most neutral day of the week, and I had a free afternoon. A Spotify playlist titled Camel Vibes and 850 milligrams of mescaline in a mason jar labeled Nope. Naturally, I drank it. Taste was something between bitter aloe and emotional regret, but I got it down. I was wearing pajama pants with dinosaurs on them and a t-shirt that said, "I respect plants." I felt ready. I laid on the carpet, set an alarm for 8 hours later, and waited for the desert to visit me. About 90 minutes in, it started. First, the walls began stretching, not outward, but emotionally. They became sensitive, as if they remembered things I'd done to them in the past. Bad paint jobs, thumbtacks, yelling. I apologized to the drywall. It forgave me with a gentle shimmer. Then the ceiling tiles melted slightly and began rearranging themselves into constellations. I saw my past relationships, the shape of forgotten lunchboxes, and a surprisingly detailed diagram of how to tie a boatie. Then came the humming. It wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from the vacuum cleaner in the corner. At first it was just a low murmur, like it was clearing its throat. But then it ramped up into a steady hum that vibrated with ancient judgment. I looked at it. It looked at me. We understood each other immediately. "You never cleaned behind the couch," it said without moving. Not once in 7 years. I tried to defend myself, but the vacuum's logic was airtight. I had failed. I had ignored the shadows where crumbs become cultures. I bowed deeply. The vacuum rolled an inch forward on its own and said, "Do you wish to atone?" "Yes," I whispered. Barely audible, reverent. 10, follow. And I did. The vacuum led me, not physically, but psychically, into a parallel apartment layered under mine. Exactly the same, but made of velvet and soft math. I passed my fridge, which was humming a sea shanty in Latin. I passed the toaster, which was floating and rotating like it had just discovered jazz. Finally, we reached a glowing hallway lined with framed photos of socks I had lost over the years. One by one, the socks whispered accusations. "You knew I was in the dryer. I was behind the bed for 8 months. You used me to wipe up pizza grease." I wept, but the vacuum placed a hose gently on my shoulder. "Redemption is possible," it intoned. Suddenly, the hallway opened into a vast courtroom where all my appliances were seated as jury members. The microwave wore sunglasses and had a clipboard. The blender was smoking a pipe. The slow cooker looked ancient and wise. At the judge's bench sat a sentient lava lamp, pulsing with sacred color and ineffable heat. "State your crimes," it demanded, sloshing in time with its own intensity. I confessed everything. Every time I dropped crumbs between the couch cushions and pretended they'd vanish on their own. Every time I promised to dust and didn't. Every time I started a load of laundry and forgot it until it fermented. I held nothing back. There was silence. Then the blender spoke. "Here has shown humility. Let him pass." Suddenly I was no longer in the courtroom, but standing in my own living room, which was now a jungle. The couch had become a moss-covered stone, covered in runes. The television was a waterfall. My cat, newly evolved into a creature with 3 eyes and a doctorate in sarcasm, said, "Now you're seeing things properly." The floor rippled beneath me like a giant breathing lung. I sat down carefully, and the rug whispered a lullaby made of colors I'd never seen before. I began to sink, gently, through layers of memory and metaphor. I fell into a memory of myself at age 6, hugging a tree and asking it to be my dad. I landed in a sandbox full of toy soldiers, debating philosophy. I heard my own laugh from 20 years ago, echoing like a voicemail I forgot to delete. When I resurfaced, I was in a library made entirely of smells. Cinnamon, rain on concrete, Sharpie markers. Inside a pumpkin, each shelf held a chapter of my life I had misunderstood. I touched one labeled 27 and instantly tasted embarrassment. Another labeled future. Dimmable electricity and possibility. I wanted to read more, but a librarian